Hey, man, I appreciate you coming, though, all the way from Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on.
It's a damn, hour drive. A little over an hour, huh?
Yeah.
Damn,
yeah.
man. I do want to just hop right into it. The January 6th, that's what I really want to get to talk about. And then, obviously, we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You fluctuate everywhere from what I see on your social media.
Oh, yeah.
Man, so to start off with that, what went down on January 6th and what, went down with, your trial, all that different types of stuff?
Yeah, it's good. And yeah, it's good to it. So I found out about, it was just a rally. It was supposed to be a rally, just a typical Trump rally. I found out mid-December. It's cool. I was going to go to Ohio for Christmas, see my family over there. So I'm like, hey, Mom, January 6th, we're having a huge Trump rally. She's like, oh, okay. So I want to go for I was 25 the day before, the 5th. So I drove 8 hours to Virginia, where I stayed, on the 5th, 25th birthday. Then the next day was the rally.
Oh, okay.
Woke up, met up with a group of people. We all went to the National Monument area of D.C. That's where the rally was being held, and there was just a lot of Americans there. I mean, even the day I was driving there, I couldn't believe how many cars I was seeing from out of state with Trump flags, American flags, just going down the tollway. And so, yeah, we get there, and everyone's just talking. People are, protesting the election. A lot of made signs, photos, just people getting together from all walks of life.
Yeah, like a normal rally type of thing.
And it was outside, so it was cold. And then I was actually walking with the Proud Boys. I was walking with the Arizona chapter because I didn't know anyone there. So I knew and had some people and some friends in the Arizona Proud Boys. Like, hey, we're a bunch of us are going. If you need a group to be with, just walk with us and you'll be good. I'm like, yeah, cool. So I walked with them. They were chanting, their anti-Antifa stuff and whatnot, just patriotic chants. And I was observing them, watching them. That's kind of the work I do too, since I'm studying to be a professor in politics and history, also somewhat philosophy. So I was just observing them, being part of it. Like, oh, it's cool. And we marched by the Capitol an hour or two before everyone got to the Capitol. There was no idea. There was no pre-plan or from people like me, there was no plan or nothing.
Your guys' standpoint, there's nothing like...
Then about 12:30, 1 o'clock, everyone's like, hey, Trump said to go peacefully protest at the Capitol, so everyone's just going to the Capitol. It's like, all right. So we're walking to the Capitol. Next, it just huge crowd of people. It just thousands on thousands.
And I saw those videos. I'm like, holy crap, man.
Oh,
it's a movement, but from the standpoint of seeing from the outside, it looked bad. But it didn't even really look bad. It looked bad on the media, right? But
yeah,
as far as everyone outside just peacefully protesting, it wasn't bad at all. But then they had FBI informants and different stuff like that, right? They had different people out there going out there and causing havoc that wasn't even really a part of the movement.
Yeah. So I was a believer that there were possible Antifa members.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting to the point, I don't think they're organized enough to do that the way this went down. Because I got hammered in court and they were coming after me from all angles because I was speaking out against the injustice and the wrongdoings, constitutional liberties and rights violated, not just me, but other January 6 people, and people had never even been arrested, FBI knocking on their door. And the reason why I think from the video evidence, the way this was coordinated and the way I've seen Antifa do their work or protest or movements, whatever you want to call it, they're organized, but not organized to the point where how it led up to January 6th is why I believe the FBI and other government provocateurs did this, and I would say all the way up to the CIA, because we do have proven history of the CIA and FBI going to different countries and our tax dollars funneling revolutions in Ukraine, South America, a lot of these corrupt countries that are pushing Marxism and whatnot.
100%. Yeah, we see it. Now that we have so much research, we have so much ability to be able to see the research that's been going on. It's right in front of our eyes. We could literally just look. Even Google, that's a part of this little like elite status type of thing that's going on here. You can even look at Google and see what's been going on with the CIA, the FBI, and all the government like entities. Not all of them, but a lot of the government entities that are going around to different countries and causing havoc, and even for our country, with our tax dollars. But with because I know that you have a video up, we have it right there. We'll have it on the screen below. We'll show it on there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll put it on the video. But he went in and he found one of the guys on January 6th. He confronted someone that was on. They were on the FBI list and then taken off. Correct?
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, and not even a coincidence, this guy is also from Maricopa County, just like Ray Epps. Ray Epps was removed from the FBI wanted list, and he's seen on video on January 5th, we need to go inside of the Capitol. And there's videos of that, and Bake Alaska caught it over there the night before the Capitol. Then the day of January 6th, he was leading people like, hey, this is where the Capitol's at. This is where the Capitol's at. How is he not arrested or charged when there's been people who didn't even step in foot of the Capitol inside the actual building that are being investigated or have been charged? And this guy hasn't. But Luke Robinson, I was tipped off about him because this guy's like, hey, apparently he's from Arizona. And I looked at him like, wow, I know who this guy is.
Oh, wow.
10 days after the FBI came to my home to investigate me, I met Luke Robinson through a mutual acquaintance of mine and a friend.
Oh, wow.
Big time activist, anti-maskers. You've probably seen him. He's wild, man, but he has balls. The stuff he's doing, I won't mess with it.
I need to get him on here too.
Oh yeah. I'll get you in contact. But no, so I met him 10 days after the feds came to my house. I had no idea, and this was in March of 2020. No, March of 2021. My bad. March of 2021. He didn't even ask me about January 6th. He's like, oh, you were there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, man. Well, okay. Then we did some activist work leading up into my initial arrest when I had to turn myself into the feds. Then he disappeared. I didn't think about it. I was like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
People get busy. And that following September, I run into him at a rally at the Capitol. He's like, oh, hey, man, how you doing? I'm doing good, man. So I saw him like 4 months after I got arrested. And it wasn't until about January of 2022, a day or two before my birthday, I get notified by this guy in my inbox who's going through the same stuff. And I look at him like, I know who that is. He had a concealed firearm, which, I'm pro. I think we carry a gun anywhere.
Yeah.
But in D.C. you can't because they got their statues, so whatever. But there's videos and photos of him carrying a concealed weapon on the Capitol grounds. And you can see him smiling and being in this crowd of people acting out or whatever you want to call it because of what was going on in the Capitol. Then he gets removed from the FBI wanted list. Then we pretty much just did like my buddy who's in the video, Kyle, shout out to Kyle Clifton. He was able to find out he has his own, this guy, Luke Robinson, had not like eBay, but what's that Mark Egasar stuff on? Not
Like
Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Craigslist, yeah. He was selling bikes on Craigslist. So he's like, all right, let's do it. And we set it up and the video, man.
I know. I play that real quick. It's on the desktop. Yeah, I watched a little bit of this. I was like, actually, I watched the whole thing. I watched the Micajah, so I couldn't find it though.
Because we knew you were at the Capitol, and we weren't sure if you had an earpiece and a firearm, man. You had a firearm on federal property. That's serious stuff. I got charged with these questions for America. Misdemeanor for parading a picket, and that's a firearm, man. And I met you 10 days after the FBI came to my house on April 3rd.
Okay.
I mean, what's going on, man? All right, yeah. What's with the earpiece at the Capitol? Who were you talking to?
Push it again.
Who were you talking to, though? No, thank you.
It's all right. We can look at the face.
Yeah,
that's Luke Robinson.
The Capitol of the earpiece. Hey, man.
He just leaves. You can pause.
Yeah, so we look at that, and I also study psychology. I read even though it's not my main degree, it's government and history, but I've studied a little bit of it. But I also read a lot of psychology books, and you could study human behavior and read human behavior. His hands are in his back pocket, and just look at his face. He's just in that. He looks stressed.
Yep.
His face is small. It just
Dripping down. He's like you can see like he's not in the best state of mind right there. It looks like he's like nervous. He's like where he came out. It looks like he's shocked that this is happening.
Yeah.
You know, like
especially, you know, what makes it interesting is the fact you met me after the feds came to my house, and I just confronted you, and there has to be some. When Kyle said, "You know who Ray Epps was?" He freezed. He's like, he just kind of stood there. He's like, no. There is a connection between him and Ray Epps.
Really?
Oh, there has to be. There, you just don't have two people removed from the FBI wanted list from Phoenix.
Yeah.
Be at January 6th, and nothing's going to happen. And the fact that you meet me after the feds come to my house. So not even FBI and other possible government entities being at the January 6th, there are informants like that who were involved in leading to people to get rowdy.
That's insane. And with it's Mike Epps, right? Or Ray Epps.
Ray Epps.
So Ray Epps, he was the one, like you said, that bringing in everyone. And he was the one that just had a gun in there, right?
Yeah.
And then they ended up. Is he like one of the guys that on the media they were like, hey, they brought guns, da 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 da?
No, that's what's even wild.
That's weird.
And the one guy they convicted of having a gun, it wasn't even on him. It was in his hotel room.
What?
Yeah, and they're trying to say this guy had a gun and everything, so they gave him like 8 years for possession of a firearm. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did have it on him, but there was no photo evidence of it. I don't want to. He already got convicted, but it's just either way. So and they keep saying it was a violent insurrection. No one got charged of insurrection. Most of the people being charged or convicted, like me, was it's a parading, picketing, and demonstrating.
Oh, what?
It's a petty misdemeanor for just protesting in an unlawful area. That's not even an American way.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. So, but he actually. So they keep crying about a firearm. It's like, and they keep crying about firearms. Like, well, what about this guy?
Yeah.
And they don't want to say anything about it.
It
just breaks their whole worldview in their story. They're trying to control this with everything. This is the only thing they have on anyone. And it's funny as hard as they're trying to. It's like, and Trump's going to be investigated. He's going to be charged. He's going to go thrown in jail. They say the same thing every day. It's not going to happen. They're just creating just a lie, man. Just a big lie.
Yeah, this narrative of just bullshit, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't understand how they connect. Did they get every person on there from the January 6th?
There was over 1 million people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. There's so many.
But they'll get anyone they can.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of people. Like,
yeah, well, they're even investigating people that weren't even in D.C. that day. There's people just. It's pretty much Soviet Union style. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my neighbor is in D.C. He's a Trump supporter. We'll go check it out. Knock on your door. That's what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's people. That's how I got caught. People on my social media just reporting me to the FBI.
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's some Soviet Union tactic.
Yeah. How the fuck did that? Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, how did that happen? How did they even come out?
Well, I didn't even think it was that bad. I was already documenting everything, and I was already doing the JFK reports. I just uploaded everything.
Mm-hmm.
And my videos on Snapchat had over 5 million views. One of them was on CNN for a week. The FBI even knew what video it was. Like, yeah, your stuff was on CNN, man.
Jeez, dude. I know you've done big things, huge things, especially for the movement that we're a part of. How'd you start with the JFK report? Like, how did that all begin?
It started the month of November of 2020. When we started protesting outside the election board area where they count the votes in Maricopa County for the state or just a county, because we believed there was something fishy going on with the election, irregularities, maybe a little fraud, some harvesting ballots, and my point to make to people is like, that deny the election or say it was fair and everything. My question is like, we're not a perfect country. There is countries all over the world where their elections legitimately get rigged and stolen and get set up.
Yeah.
What makes you think that can't happen in America? Yeah, they just don't want to believe that because they would just. If it does, it's not the end of the world. You can fix it. Mm-hmm. You prosecute people. You put people in jail. I'm actually a big supporter of if people get charged with like treason or like actual full-on insurrectionists, or I think you should be deported. That's what we should do in the 1920s, the Palmer raids it was right after the Bolsheviks' Russian Revolution in the early 1920s, and that's how the FBI started. They were going after anarchists that were pushing an actual Lenin form of communism.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, they were bombing places. They were having these huge meetings, and when they got caught and arrested, they got deported to the Soviet Union.
What the?
Yeah,
how do you
yeah,
know?
you can find Palmer raid. It's pretty cool. And so I'm actually if you're gonna, so I believe like to FBI agents now and CIA, I think they should be exiled from this United States. I think they should be sent to like Argentina or some where the Nazis fled. And
Something. We don't need that nonsense here.
no, yeah, because I don't think jail's good enough. Yeah, you're in jail, but you might get 5-10 years because you're an agent, you work for the government. No, I think exiling them and getting them out of here would really we're not going to tolerate this.
Make a change.
Maybe that's a bit authoritarian to some people, but you're ruining millions of lives of Americans. I think it's reasonable enough. You're not getting put in a concentration camp. We're not going to execute you. We're not going to gas you. I'm a Christian, man. I'm not for that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
But I have no problem giving people life in prison or deporting you.
yeah, getting you out of here.
But yeah, I'm like, man, JFK's always been my favorite president. So I just made my Instagram account, the JFK Report. I was pretty much just documenting the books I was reading, going to rallies, interviewing people, and just documenting traveling stuff, just pretty much like a blog.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of culture and politics.
Yeah, I definitely seen that. I was like, heck yeah, man! I love seeing that. You're out in the streets, really doing it too. Like you'll be out in the streets with didn't I see you with a speaker before or whatnot? Or you were with something. And
Yeah, I've met all kinds of politicians just because of January 6th. I've interviewed just random people. I've gone down to our Skid Row in Phoenix and talked to the homeless just to see, like, man, this is just sad what's going on here.
Yeah.
How the homeless shelter there, it just isn't efficient enough to run. But also it comes down to what homeless people are actually really homeless and actually need. Because I went down there's people that just live there because they don't want to work and they just don't want to pay bills, but they have like this brand new smartphone in their hand.
Yeah. They're literally scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
real.
So it's interesting, man. I just kind of my thing. I kind of like the human nature and social behavior.
Yeah.
Works. That's what I study.
Yeah, you're studying to be a professor, right?
Yeah, I think in our movement, you have all these activists. You got people like Charlie Kirk or Jack Posobiec, and I'm just naming out big people. You got radio host. I think what we're missing in our movement is our universities are being taken over by full-on Marxists and anti-Americans. To really win our movement too, we need to take back our academics and get professors like me trying to be a professor on more of our side to go down this route and take back the education.
Yeah.
We need to be educated. We need to know what's actually true or a lie and have some form of morality with it too, And it was Charlie Kirk dropped this book about why you shouldn't go to college. I just disagree with that. I think we should go to college. We just have to fix it because if you're not going to go to college, they're going to take it all over again. No, I support trade works. I think men should go into trades, welding, construction, concrete, mechanic works. I'm all for that. But we also need to have academics. It's the balance, and to say college isn't worth that, I'm like, that's the problem. We're not fighting enough.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think they've been trying to take over. They've been taking over the colleges for a while now. A lot of them now, prior than before, because I mean, if you look at the Rockefellers, they funded the colleges for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that was all the way from the UK to the United States and everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So it's like right now is the worst times where like we can't even trust our doctors that are being taught. We can't even trust most of the people coming out of there. A lot of times, it's kind of hard to trying to.
Yeah, they're not competent.
Yeah, exactly. They'll just listen to what is said and then just go with it instead of like dissecting. Okay, maybe this might not be it. Okay.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I can start sending some people your way too if you're trying to get more people, just to talk to them.
I appreciate it, man, because I love learning and also having anyone that watches this learn as well. And a lot of people's not teaching this, and YouTube blocks a lot of this stuff out. So I go on Rumble.
Yeah,
I try to go on.
Rumble's growing, man.
I know it is.
I have a Rumble account. I have nothing against it. It's just I post. I I know how to work with YouTube where they won't
Really?
strike me. Yeah.
Wow, nice. They haven't struck me yet, but they're shadow banning me because I did the Balenciaga little intro video.
Yeah.
And it's not being shown anywhere. You look up the blue perspective, you can't even see it. Like you scroll down the whole time. It used to be the top one when you looked it up, but now it's like not even there. Like I have to go on my subscribers list and look at my stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the second video that I just posted now, it's going back on the top. But that's why I like fluctuating myself with different platforms, just because like it's bullshit how YouTube does their thing.
Yeah. Spotify's a good one too.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to get on there as well. I should be able to post it tonight.
I really enjoy Joe Rogan, but I don't listen to his MMA shows or his comedian shows.
Oh, really?
I like when he has political people on there, professors, scientists, people that travel the world.
Yeah, me too.
And he'll get anyone on there. I think the only thing he doesn't get Christians on there.
I know.
But I think he'll open up to that soon.
Well, he gets Jordan Peterson. He's a Christian.
What
is he?
He believes he believes Jesus walked the earth, but he's still battling that. Is he the Messiah? He's really big on the Old Testament, so he's like right there.
Gotcha.
Same with Adam Curry. It was actually a couple weeks ago. We had Adam Curry on, and he's like, "Dude, I believe in Jesus, man. Everything just proves it. The historical facts."
Yeah.
But I think that's something he's just battling, because it would open a new door for him. But I'm not going to pressure him on that. It'll eventually happen. That's why I like Lex Friedman too, because he'll actually get pastors on there and just talk to them.
Yeah, that's
he gets like real intellectuals on there, from professors, philosophers, Marxists.
Yeah, isn't Lex Friedman? Isn't he a Jew or is he a Christian?
He's Jew. Yeah, he's from Ukraine. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he is. Yeah, because I've only watched a couple of his. I seen the Yay one where he was really like pressuring him on the Jewish stuff, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about too. But we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm trying to get a lot of Christians on here, pastors. I'm trying to get anyone and everyone.
Oh yeah.
I like how Joe Rogan runs his stuff, and it's like this is like kind of like reflecting off of him, but I'm gonna get more Christians on here, everyone, diverse. If we can get Satanists in here and we can talk to him, and hopefully like the speech of God talking within me to have him transfer him to being Christian.
That's the problem too. Like, I would love to have a setup like this at my place or down the road where I will talk to anyone. But the problem is sometimes those type of folks, they don't even want to come on.
Yeah,
it's like how are we gonna have a civil discussion and just be peaceful neighbors in our country if we can't even do that?
That's the problem here. That's a huge problem.
And that's why I like Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan, because a lot of people will go on there. I mean, a lot of them won't. I was actually shocked when that doctor from CNN went on to Joe Rogan after they tried lying about him taking this horse dewormer, and they changed the fading of his skin, and they just straight up lying and
lying.
Yeah,
and he went after he went after him.
And I was shocked that the doctor came on to speak to him right after that happened. I'm like, yeah, that's.
And he kind of he was stuck. Like Joe Rogan had him pressured, like he was like in a corner backing out. Like, and I know that was crazy how he was able to get him on there. I mean, I guess it's always the same. Everyone just wants to get more publicity on Joe Rogan's platform most of the time. Like, they just want to get looked at because Joe Rogan's like the hugest podcast. He has more numbers than CNN.
It's bigger than Sirius Radio now.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's talk to anyone, and he's even said there was federal informants and provocateurs on January 6th. Yeah. Like, he's even saying it. And now Elon Musk is saying release Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman that I personally know. He wouldn't harm a fly.
Really?
Yeah, to finish the topic off of January 6th, and we could go whatever road we want to go, everyone needs to be pardoned. Even the people that got violent and fought cops. We and the rest of the people, myself, we didn't start anything. I was one of the first guys there that saw everything take place. The cops attacked us first. They were beating people. They were flashbanging people, using pepper ball guns, pointing guns at people. They shot Ashley Babbitt. They beat Roseanne Boylan down. They pushed another dude off a stairway, and it cracked his head, and he died. 4 or 5 people died that day.
Wow.
And they're trying to say Ashley Babbitt was justified. Like, no, you just don't shoot an unarmed woman. I mean, there was no weapon on her. You think she's going to harm you?
No, yeah, a full-grown man. Several full-grown.
You couldn't have used pepper spray or just punch her and break her nose.
Yes.
I mean, no disrespect to Ashley Babbitt or her mom, but I mean, they couldn't have just done that.
Yeah, instead of do the worst.
And what was wild when I was in there, I had this moment of God. I didn't know what was going on. I was just walked. I didn't realize all this was going on. It put me into the state of mind. I was just there trying to survive because I've never seen anything like this. And I consider it a revolution. I really do, because of what they did. And we are in a revolution in this country right now. Everyone talks about a civil war. No, a revolution always comes first. And we are in a cultural revolution. But I was in this state of mind. And the next thing you know, I'm next to this statue, and I just froze. Everything just slowed down. I'm talking like by 10 times. Everyone's just slow. And I just had this spirit, the Holy Spirit just covered me. He's like, hey, just get out of here. I'm like, oh, and that's what I did. I just like found my way to walk out. And the next thing you know, I just see all these guys in military uniform with automatic machine guns just walking in there and starting clearing the building, arresting people, pointing guns at people. Yeah, so I was like, I'm getting that, you know. And,
That's the whole.
But no, dude, the DC and the Capitol Police created a riot in a form of a revolution, because that was the plan all along with the FBI, who instigated it. And this is why I call it a psyop. It's a psyop. They did it. They made it look like a coup attempt to throw. And the only coup attempt there was to throw Trump out of office illegally and to persecute men like me and thousands of others.
Yeah.
That's what pretty much, man.
For real, 100%. That's where, and then they make it like as in like a 9/11 event every year.
That's hideous.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's literally I don't understand how.
Didn't it like 2,000 people die and they were jumping out of windows because they didn't want to burn to death?
Yeah, exactly. And they make it seem like we can relate both of them on. Like it's ridiculous how they do that. How the media is so like this. This is the thing. It's like there's culture and then there's Jesus. Like the culture right now is so messed up in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere. Let's just start with that. So messed up to where we'll believe anything with the technology instead of dipping into the word. A lot of these kids, a lot of people can't even read just regular nursery books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They rather just go on their phone and see a video.
Watch TikTok, yeah.
Watch TikTok all day.
And I'm seeing it to protect my family, though. I was talking to my stepfather, and the TikTok's bothering him. He says it's impacting my sisters, and he doesn't like it. I'm like, hey, you're the father. You just take it away. Tell him no. I even told my mom, get off that. Get off. Not even just TikTok. I even have problems. I'll go. Because YouTube has rules, and I go on YouTube, you know. Yeah. But we just have to find the discipline to get away from our phones, or just have the discipline not to be on it so much as we can now.
I know, and it's kind of hard to even put. You can't put like laws towards it because you're like affecting the freedom, I guess. But in the same way, it's rotting our brains. It's rotting the way that we run as a society, and it's also you're looking at it's affecting elections. It's affecting the whole United States, the greatest country in the world, the strongest country in the world. It's affecting it greatly because right now, I just did a video on this too this morning. I don't know if you're known for you know the Full Send podcast. It's the Nelk Boys. Yeah. So they had Tucker Carlson on there, and he was saying, he was like, we're no longer the strongest country anymore.
No.
Yeah, we're not, because you have China and Russia coming out now, and they're coming after us. You know, so it's like this World War III that's like being talked about. It's like happening in front of our eyes, and we're just like,
and we have no business being in. Of course, I feel for the Ukrainian people. My wife is half Ukrainian and half Russian, but it's not the people. I'm not. It's the government over there, and I can't. And the reason why I can't be upset with Russia is Eastern Europe. They're against this anti-godly stuff, the LGBT movement, the transgenderism, NATO. We have biolabs in Ukraine next to Russia. Why do we have American biolabs in Ukraine next to Russia? And NATO is just trying to grow more and more next to Russia. I can't blame Russia. They say, we don't want this evil next to our country.
Yeah.
We want to push our Eastern Orthodox Christian faith. Yeah, we want to be a superhouse, and that's how humans work. I mean, war is just war. But we don't want this. We don't want NATO next to our nations. 100%. Because we know what NATO's trying to do. And they see how it's affecting Western Europe. Look what's going on in Paris, London. What's one of those big cities in Germany? Can't think of the one at that. Starts with an N. Or I'll just say Berlin, whatever. And you see what they're doing in those cities where they're coming after their own people.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
You can even see it in the United States. What's been going on? Like our own people are attacking our own people with these biolabs. My conspiracy is that COVID was Actually, I think they're already like claiming that it's been part of the biolab, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like now they're finally coming out. Even CDC is saying like, oh, it might be blah 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 blah.
yeah.
So like the fact that it's really the media, because nobody will actually pick up a book or research more about what's going on. They'll just look at what happened, what scrolls down on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and just say, oh, it's all Russia, instead of looking at like, it's like if someone had a gun pointed outside my house at my kids. You don't think I'm going to get mad at that? Like Russia's getting mad the fact of that Ukraine, NATO is having biolabs that could potentially kill their people if it's just one leak, like literally. So like it's the same type of thing. You're not going to be mad that someone's pointing a gun at your kid in front of your house, not shooting it yet, but it's right there. Like it's like trigger finger push and your kid's gone.
When they also don't want to talk about the area that Putin's trying to take over. Majority of those people are Russian. And the Ukrainian government just throws them to the dirt.
Oh, wow.
And they just don't like it. It's like, well, we're Russian and we speak Russian, and the Russian government's better. We want to be part of Russia. And that's another reason. They don't want to talk about the people over in that area that he's taken.
Yeah, they don't.
Oh, yeah. But, it is sad that, both people, Ukraine people and Russian, they're in that mix.
Yeah, 100%. I like when I speak about Ukraine, I'm really talking about the government.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the people. The people, they deserve better. Both sides, anyone that's in hurt, God be with them at all times, because the governments what's happening right now is crazy, beyond crazy.
Yeah.
And Trump was like that. Was that glue to America that we really needed, that the world needed?
Yeah.
Because like this stuff was not happening with Trump. This wouldn't have happened with Trump.
He met Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, exactly.
Name one president even met his father and his great-grandfather.
Exactly.
They wouldn't even do that.
They shook hands.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, he was making peace. Like, what God wants you to put love out there. So we don't need to hate Kim Jong-un for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though, yes, he does horrible things from what we know. But in the same token, Trump was trying to make amends for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's beautiful of him. But the fact that right now what's going on, we have the administration that's going on here is not even clueless. They actually know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have a clueless president that just literally gets a piece of paper that's sent to him, and he can't even read it straight. He can't even really get in tune with even the paperwork that's on there, is like ridiculous beyond ridiculous. And how people can even defend the fact of what's going on with our administration is like beyond me. Like they haven't done their research, even the littlest of research. Like all you have to do is watch him talk, and you'll be like, what is going on here? Like America looks like shit because of this.
Yeah. Well, it's competence, and our checks and balances is broken. Even Trump has put up, he thought they were good judges, but looking at these January 6 cases, they're awful judges.
Yeah.
So the only way to get people prosecuted and to be held accountable, the FBI has to be eradicated. States need to get more involved. We need judges removed. We need competent constitutional judges that are going to hold the rule of law and not be swung by political bias. Yep. You're not supposed to be you're supposed to be a judge on law and morality, not politics, because I disagree with your politics. And that's when countries go a whole different route.
Yeah, you create a Soviet Union, literally. And I also believe that they fear something other than God, and that's what's going on. Like, as in, you saw where the Epstein case, where the judge, her son got killed and her husband got shot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they're putting that made a huge message out to any judge. They're like, holy shit! Like, okay, like if we mess up the agenda, they're coming after us.
Yep.
So in the same sense, like I think they're more. Maybe there's obviously going to be some that went a different route than what Trump thought they were going to, but I also think a lot of them are afraid. They have fear, and that's the problem with a lot of people, that you only need to fear God. Who cares about anything else? Like fear. If you don't fear God, if you fear something other than God, you're going to constantly have this anxiety. Constantly have this problem with fighting against different obstacles that come in your way. If you just fear God, you'll understand that He will take care of stuff. He'll make sure that everything's good. And even if your end time is now, He's going to make sure you're good internally.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Amen.
So exactly, 100%. So the fact that the judges, the government,
even
officials,
the
prosecutors, all of them, they're in fear, or they're a part of the agenda, or they're getting paid.
Incompetent.
So, yep, exactly. That and it's ruining this country. back to what Tucker Carlson said, we are not the strongest country anymore, and this is like the first time in like 100 years, really. I mean, there's been times, but I think right now is like the weakest spot where we've been at in a long time. At least.
And I also tell people too, the people that want to go fight war in Ukraine and Russia and say we need to send troops there, and I tell them, like, have you not picked up a history book? The Nazis before the Nazis in World War I tried to invaded Russia twice, and Russians are a different breed of people.
Yeah,
they won't quit.
They won't.
And you're not gonna. As much as I support being a Marine and everything, and I love our men and women in the uniform, Russia's a different. You're going in their country.
Yeah,
they won't quit.
It's gonna be a dogfight.
And as much as I would want us, if something did happen, he's like, yeah. I mean, obviously, I want us to be on. It ain't gonna happen. Look what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq. I mean, yeah, we were bullying them, but they didn't have the equipment and the training like we had. You just don't mock Russia like that. Mm-hmm. As much as people despise Stalin and the Soviet Union and Stalin put that country into a superpower, regardless of its communism, economics, and their political philosophy over there. It's a powerhouse. And their culture over there is a dogfight. I mean, look at these Russian UFC fighters.
Yeah, they're killing it out here, bro.
And they don't mess around over there. They have nothing to lose. And it's all for Russia, and that's what it is. So it'd be a dogfight, and it wouldn't be pretty. And they're not going to let you take over their whole city. It just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, no, they have too much pride, which is beautiful. I'm not too sure upon their religious stature. Are they Christian?
Yeah, they're Eastern Orthodox. It's
okay.
That's their national religion over there. It's national, yeah.
Okay, so like they respect it. You can see it because they won't tolerate the bullshit that we do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And the fact that China, is that true too? Because I'm not too like I've been doing dips and researches. Is China and them coming together? I mean, it kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Or is
it may depend. I'm not educated enough on that topic, but the news did say that China wanted Russia to kind of like, hey, just pull out of Ukraine stuff, but Russia can't do that. And Putin, they have to go all the way in. They're already there. But that's not. I don't mind talking about it, but I don't want to spread.
Yeah, false information that we know.
Yeah, I just don't know much about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But it seems a little weird because of the spies that have like that spy balloon. That was like, whoa, like I can't believe that even was.
Yeah, that's probably been happening for a while though. We just finally caught it.
You're right. But like the fact that,
and what's funny, we have CIA all over different parts of the countries, and the president gets briefed daily on matters that are happening in foreign affairs. So it's not like we're not doing the same thing to other countries, and it may be worse. I mean, shit. Like I said earlier on this show, we're funneling money to create revolutions and cause government disturbance in one countries.
Yeah, you're right, 100%. So there's no
like the Iran Socialist Revolution in 1979. That was funded and pushed by the CIA.
Oh wow!
Before they were a monarchy. Before that, it was a beautiful country. Yeah, it was a monarchy, but of course, people are gonna be poor, but there's a high middle class area where they're thriving, which it's the world wasn't fair, and we pushed a socialist revolution, and now look where they're at now, where their own dictator is gassing school children, and
wow, I didn't even know that.
People are dying in riots, and the cops are executing people. Yeah.
Holy crap!
And we're not talking about Iran, but we're talking about Ukraine and Russia. But it's Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, if we probably dipped into that, we'd know more of it, like the research, like you're saying. If people were to hear the Iran stuff, it would hurt the CIA because we're going to be looking more into it. I mean, obviously there's people like you that are already looking into it, but in the same token, it's like anything that reflects from them, they want to cover it up, or unless it's something that will positively push their agenda.
Yeah.
As far as the Ukraine and stuff.
And what I always tell people too, what makes us any different than the Soviet Union or maybe possibly Nazi Germany?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
I mean, if we want to, so Nazi Germany, they gassed Jews, they killed people with disabilities, gypsies or whatever, and they believed in, I can't think of what's that scientific word when you're just cleaning people. You're cleansing them. You're just wiping out your... Can't think of the word. I should know. It's in the back of my head, but let's talk abortions. So what makes it... So the Nazis were forcing the gas people and get them executed to cleanse their society to a pure German race. Mm-hmm. America, we're not forcing it. You could just go get an abortion. Oh. No, I know we're not gassing people, but 6 million Jews were gassed? We've had since after Roe versus Wade, over 60 million babies. Okay, so we could talk about that. But then if you go, okay, now let's look at the Soviet Union. The government spies on us. They come to you over a tip. They're tapping into your phones. They're watching your emails. And these files always get released. The CIA finally admitted, yeah, we were part of the JFK assassination. Just like the Soviet Union, where they send spies over the world. They bring you in because you did something wrong or you thought something wrong, and we're going to investigate you. Mm-hmm. Are we really any different than those two countries right now?
No.
Besides just having a Second Amendment and a court system and just not one centralized government like they were. We have 3 branches of government.
Yeah, we have a lot of similarities with those countries and those eras. Like, I mean, look at even Operation Paperclip. We brought in Nazis to help run America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like even like that, like we brought in the scientists.
Well, to be fair, if there are people too. It was a different. People have to realize human behavior and psychology. What are you going to do under an authoritarian regime? Mm-hmm. Are you part of the movement? Do you like it? What have you been taught? And what they don't want to teach you is the genocide of the Jews was it wrong? Oh, of course, yeah, okay, yeah, of course, it was. I'm not going to deny that. I got a lot of Jewish friends. But they don't want to talk about what was leading up to that. I mean, they had the defeat of World War I. Then a lot of things that were going on, too, is a lot of the Jewish people there were controlling the banks, the education, pushing pornography, the Hollywood scene over there, a lot of poor Germans. I'm not saying it's all on the Jews. There was a huge they were open to letting LGBT, they could do their things. They could be this, be that, transgenders over there. Mm-hmm. And that really impacted the German culture there, like the full-on German people.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. And Hitler didn't like it either. You read Mein Kampf and you talk about it. So they always talk about, they never want to talk about, well, why did the Nazis do it?
Yeah, what led up to
it? What was going on? Why did they have this? What was leading it? They never want to teach that. Mm-hmm. I think we should learn it.
100%.
I'm not denouncing what he did was wrong. Of course, what the Nazis did, they killed millions of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But why did it get there?
Uh-huh. That's crazy to know. And I never, it's funny because like you said, they don't teach you that. And I never even knew that. I always wanted to know, but it's hard to find. You have to literally deep and do your research on that.
Well, that's why you have to, I am always looking for independent books. I just read a lot, and then sometimes you can find a good academic paper that's actually been written that's been suppressed on the internet. Mm-hmm. Someone sends you a file and you check the source, like, oh yeah, this is. But the Nazis were far advanced too, so they were smart. So they were humans, and I don't know what I was going to say right there, but no, it's just interesting, and it's fine. It's interesting too how everyone screams fascism, fascist, but I could go outside, wear a communism hat, and be just fine, and they won't say anything to me.
Not one thing. But if you wear the "Make America Great Again,"
oh, they think that's pure on fascism. Yeah. It's like, dude, I don't want any of that. I'm good, man. But I could get into how we have been a fascist nation for a while before getting into this Marxist movement. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why I believe America has been a fascist nation probably since the time Woodrow Wilson got into office. And then you look at what happened with the New Deal, with all these social programs that got implemented, and you had Lyndon B. Johnson with more social programs, and you look at both Bushes going to war, then you look at the policies of Obama. But I think right at the end towards Obama is when you started seeing Marxism. And see, what people try to do is they try to separate. I made this diagram. You could probably get it on my Facebook. I mean, not my
Twitter.
My Twitter. If you go to my media, go to the media pictures, and there should be a 3-piece diagram of my philosophy to make it look.
Go to the login.
And I'll just to make it faster, I'll go on mine, and created the philosophy and the idea of an economic system of communism and socialism. It abolished the private property, no class divisions, just one social class. You're all just part of the working class. You get the basic necessities, one centralized government, wealth distribution. The government just controls and manages everything.
Yeah, like that's like the worst possible case of like
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. But to get to communism though, you need socialism. Socialism is a lot of it's an economic philosophy, but it's not as severe as communism. But they still want to distribute wealth, and it's completely separate than communism's like the full one, because Lenin, the talk about socialism, I'll use more Lenin on that because I thought he did a better job breaking it down. So with socialism, communism's for all poor people, the working class. It's a working class poor movement. Mm-hmm. Lenin separates socialism and communism. He says socialism, which I do agree with, because that's why I think it fits it's more of a fascist movement too, because socialism is for the middle class,
Okay.
but communism is for the working class, and the communism doesn't want a middle class. They want to wipe out every class. There's only one government of a dictator with one working class, and you all get paid the same. You all go to work the same day. You get the same amount of time off.
Okay.
Fascism, and a lot of people say, "Oh, fascism isn't socialism and this communism stuff." Well, I'm like, well, I disagree. Where did fascism come around? So Mussolini, the notorious dictator and leader of Italy in the early 20th century, studied Karl Marx in Switzerland. Either Switzerland or Sweden. I forget which two. Don't quote me on it, but he studied socialism, the Marxist socialism and communism. He's like, man, I don't like some of these ideas, but there's some I do like. Mm-hmm. So he created fascism, and fascism is more of I don't believe in left or right wing. Because when we get to the American part of why I believe America is fascism, because I think it leans more towards a left-leaning ideology, even though I don't believe in left or right. But to make it simpler for the listeners, I'll go that route. So he took ideas he liked from socialism and took his own ideas with even surrounding, he had Spain, he had Germany right there. They were all fascists. And they created their own form of a social economy and political government. So you take some of the socialism and some of the authoritarian stuff, and you got fascism, which is more of like, I guess you would say you're ultra-nationalist, one race, whatever you want it to be, just like this is the way. But the thing is about fascists, they were very anti-communist because they liked having a middle class where everyone was able to function still. Oh. Yeah. So because people don't realize Hitler actually brought their economy was thriving when Hitler took over before World War II took off.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, they had a thriving. He was bringing them out of the gutter. People were working. Things were getting cleaned up.
So what he was fascist. That was crap, I can't even say the name. Fascism? Like that's what, or was he?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was fascist.
But people, what they try to say is, I've had these ridiculous journalists when they trying to interview me or ask me about something, he's like, you do know Germany was fascist. They weren't National Socialists. I'm like, you do realize the party that took over in Germany was a National Socialist party. It was the German Working Socialist Party, which is fascism. They consider it fascism.
Wow.
And there are nations out there that have like a social democracy, which would be a form of socialism. Like Sweden did in the 70s. America's pushing the social democracy, but it turned into fascism, which we'll eventually get there. But no, I just break down these ideas because in order for communism to work, you have to implement socialism, and same with fascism. But the key component is Marxism. You're losing rights and liberties going down these roads. It doesn't matter which one you go down to. Mm-hmm. And he's the fundamental principal key character because They used his ideas, and the fascism took what they like, and communism's like, especially if Lenin's like, yeah, like he was critic of Marx, so he took his ways of communism. But I give credit to Lenin how he separated socialism being middle class, fascism, middle class people, but ultra nationalist. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a nationalist, but I guess when the way they were doing things, when you're genociding people or getting, there's a point where it's like, okay, that's a little bit much.
Yeah.
Because if you love America, you're a nationalist. If you love Russia, you're a nationalist. If you love China, you're a nationalist. So it's You're Mexican, you're a nationalist. You live down in Mexico. It's just things go too far.
Yeah.
But that's how I break it down. So I created that diagram. They're like really separated, but how they're all related in a way.
Okay, I like that too. You put a nice work. It's been retweeted like crazy, I see. But yeah, man. I mean, breaking down all of this, where we're coming in, and you said we've been built up to be a fascist.
Yeah. So Woodrow Wilson, with creating the administration state, which I don't think there's nothing wrong with administration state. He really wanted it separated. The dichotomy of with public administration, you have to separate politics and just being a public administrator. It needs to be separate.
Yeah.
Is once you bring politics involved, that's when things start getting corrupt and dirty, in which we're seeing in our public administration of the health department, FBI, DOJ. Those are all public administrators. So then you had FDR, the New Deal with Social Security. Was it Medicaid or Medicare? One of the two. One of the two he passed. It's one of the Medicares, whatever. But which I have no problem. He's like, yeah, if I do believe some people do actually need help, as long as they're not, you get your help, and then they get you. It's the way it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you enough to get office, so you're functioning without the government assistance. That's the purpose of it. But now we don't do that, and that's what turned it into this social democracy. You get the LBJ with the welfare state and other government programs, and people were just living on and off. You go to these Section 9 neighborhoods in big cities like New York City and Chicago, or just crime, poor, and they think they're oppressed when it's the government.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, well, get out of it. You got to work hard to get out of it. But then you look at, so you got that social democracy type right there, but then you see LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, he put us in Vietnam. Then you get to the Bushes in the 90s and early 2000s, where we're in Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, Obama with Afghanistan and Iraq, and we're pushing this imperialism where we're trying to take over these countries and put in some form of social democracy in there, which it's just not going to work with some of these countries and how they function.
Yeah.
That's why I said we're fascists, because we've genocided more babies than the Nazis killed Jews. The social democracy, the government crackdowns, and you got to form to this social movement of social justice and everything. It's like, nah, dude, I'm good. And I get that. That's a whole different topic. If that's not enough for people, just read the book Liberal Fascism by Jonah Goldberg and other books. But the liberal movement is we're all liberals, but the liberal movement that started happening after the 60s turned into a form of a fascism.
Yeah.
Because they were making it seem patriotic, and that's the national identity, and it's just no. But the end towards Obama is when we really started to see like this. Now we're swinging to the other side to communism, and the Marxist Lenin type of communism of pushing Bolshevik type revolutions, this critical race theory talk, these class divisions and oppression, and fascism doesn't talk about that. It's just, we want to make the country better. We love country pride. This is what we're going to do. Communism's whole different. It's a mixture of things, and making an entire mess until you get that one dictator type to like, that's enough. Only one class, one working class.
Yeah, well,
you're all poor. You're all peasants. No middle class. Yeah.
So do you see us ever going into that state of communism, or, I mean,
it's not. anything's possible. It's quite possible. I really do believe it could happen, but I also believe that I think I look at January 6th, and that was barely 1% of the country.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be, I mean, it can happen. I'm not saying it can't. I mean, the Russian Revolution did it, so it could happen here. But I think there's millions of Americans that would say no with our Second Amendment and voices and be like, that ain't happening here. And it would be we thought the Russian Revolution and our American Civil War was nasty. That would top everything. It would be that bad because we just want to tolerate it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I do believe we're in a revolution. And when you look at revolution, what does it change? It attacks culture, economics, and politics. What's going on in our country? They're attacking our political system, elections, throwing people under the bus. You can't be a Republican. You can't be a Democrat, which I despise both parties. Then you're looking at our culture, social justice, the transgender movement, LGBT. You get pro-black, pro-white, pro-Mexican. You're oppressed. Everything's you colonizers for being white. That's whiteness. And you look at the economy. I mean, look at the banks that are closing down now up in like Silicon Valley. The dollar's going under value. You can't trade gold or silver.
Yeah.
Then you have crypto and everything. They're attacking crypto.
Yep.
That's how a revolution. That's what they do that's what Mao did in China. He attacked those three aspects.
That's scary. It's scary, but also it's well needed that we need a revolution because it's been happening for so long now to where it's clear as day that we need something to happen to where we can get back on track as the United States. And then it's also too easy right now. Too easy it's easy and hard to live in America, but I feel like with that one quote where it's like hard men equals no.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it right.
Like hard men creates like soft. I know which one you're talking about.
Soft men create hard times. Hard men create it's easy time, something like that.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'll find it.
And even though I do believe we are in a revolution, but I do consider myself a radical revolutionist. Because my problem with conservatives and liberals. If you're a conservative, you're a reactionary. If you're a liberal, you're a revolutionary. It's like, you guys have it all. Whatever, you believe your words, whatever the textbook says. First off, I'm radical. I went to January 6th. I confronted an FBI informant. I want to deport FBI agents. And why I'm a revolutionary? Because I have no problem. I think every American has revolutionary DNA in our blood. I really do. We look at John Brown, the anarchist movement in the 1920s, January 6th, the Wall Street, what happened in 2011, the American Revolution, the Whiskey Rebellion. We all have it. We all have rebellion in our blood. It's human nature. But what we have to do, we have to fight a counter-revolution to this Marxist revolution. The counter-revolution is God, America, family, our culture, our tradition, and to get this evil out of our country. We have to have a counter-revolution.
Yeah.
And other things, too. A revolution doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to. We had the Industrial Revolution. That wasn't violent.
Oh, yeah.
It was just we were changing the industrial system, to make it safer, more applicable, and just better environment to work in. And so kids wouldn't have to work at 9 years old.
Yeah.
So a revolution doesn't have to be violent. But the way this is going, and what you see people like Antifa and these neo-communist groups, what they're doing in these cities, and what they did to the Atlanta Police Training Center a week ago, you're going to have to defend yourself or fight.
Yeah.
They'll kill you. They will fire fireworks at you. They'll shoot bricks at you. I mean, look at the BLM protests where people actually got killed by these people.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't care.
Ruthless.
Yeah.
It's bad.
You have to, and that's the thing about conservatives. They don't. I understand they don't want to go that route, but I'm like, you're gonna have to come to a realization that those times are coming.
Yeah.
I don't want to go that route, but I will defend my life, my family, my loved ones, and my neighbors in this country.
Yeah.
I'm not going down that route.
Beautiful.
And the only way to this is a counter-revolution against them, where we take back our elementary schools, or high schools, or our judges, or politicians, every major department, and it doesn't have. You don't have to be Republican or it has to be conservative. It just needs to be people that trust God, love America, love their family, and have trust. These people have this idea where it's going to be all conservatives and Republicans. Like they just want you to think that way, And because even if I would want liberals too, but not these radical ones that are pushing Marxism. Give me some liberals on there, so we have different opinions. It's just because conservatism is classical liberalism. I mean, the founders were classical liberals. So
Yeah.
So it's funny when I talk to conservatives when, I'm not no liberal. It's like, okay, dude, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I think like just saying, I think the term liberal took its end. Like it's like it's a totally different definition now, how they put it in a way.
Yeah, it's a social democracy, which I've seen college professors trying to push. Because what I tell them too, I'll confront them. I'm like, do you realize in Hitler's Mein Kampf that he used the term social democracy to get his socialist party and the Nazis in Germany? That's what he called it, a social democracy. And Lenin hated social democracy because he knew it was going to lead to that, and it wasn't communism, and it wasn't what they were trying to get done of the working class.
So it's like these manipulations that happen.
Well, Antifa actually started in the 1930s and 40s by Stalin. They were a bunch of communists that were anti-fascists. They were actually communist, and they were having street fights against the Nazis in Germany before Hitler took power with the brown shirts and everything. Yeah, that's what they are. They're just communist, and that's why they consider everything fascism, because it's just against them.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
And my point is too, is the reason why we're trying to fix this is like, people are starting to realize, there's something wrong with this movement, but we've been living under a fascist form of state. It doesn't look like Italy or Germany. It doesn't have to. People don't realize times change. And what we have to do is we have to get rid of this fascist poison that's been in this country for a while, and we have to stop this communist revolution movement and get back to the basic principles of just America, liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness, and putting God first.
100%. Under God. America's supposed to be under God. Make America under God again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's another thing, is that when we separate a lot of these schools, public schools to be specific, they separated themselves from God. Like, I go to the community over at over here. It's Copper Basin.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a nice school.
Yeah. And I coach football there. They wouldn't let me pray. I mean, it's not like I'm forcing the kids to come pray. I'd go in the middle of the field, and whoever wants to pray with me can pray with me. They stopped me from doing it.
Well, and you should do it again this year, because they can't do that, because there was an actual Supreme Court case last summer that made national television because a coach in Washington did the same thing, where he didn't ask him to pray with them. He prayed in the middle of the field before and after the game, and some players would go pray with him. And he took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can't do that. That violates what clause is that? There's I should know that. I've taken so many Supreme Court classes, not the religious class. I should Google it, whatever. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I know so many cases in my head, sometimes I just can't get them out of my head. But no, and this just happened last summer. The Supreme Court said, yeah, you can't do that. You're violating its First Amendment. So if they try doing that, what you do is you take the Supreme Court paperwork of that case, you give it to them. It's like, you're in violation. You can't fire me. I'm allowed to do this. As long as I'm not telling kids or asking kids to pray with me, I'm in my right.
Okay. So yeah, I'll definitely do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, because they literally stopped me, and they're like, hey, and this happened last year.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, hey, you can't do that. Like, parents are getting mad and this. Like, and in these public schools, there's so many different people that you see.
Yeah, and there's so many problems in the public schools.
100%.
So my childhood best friend, he's an Army Ranger, tabbed and everything. He lives down. We grew up together in Ohio. We were neighbors. Lives in Phoenix now, going to pilot school, going to college. He was like, "Hey man, I just had this." He said, "Some of these college courses are wild, dude. Like he's full on Hispanic. Like, dude, they were asking me, with some of my homework, for each race, what are racial terms for them? Like every race." And he's like, "I just thought it was the stupidest thing, most stupid thing ever." And then he's like, they even did the same thing for like gay people and transgenders. What are racial and like terms for them that degrade them?
So it's like a little survey that's pretty much.
It was an assignment.
Assignment.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then he brought up, and then he's like, dude, I already know they're teaching this sort of stuff in high school, because my two cousins, his cousins are Mexican or Hispanic, whatever, man. But they came home to their mom, and this is a white rural area of Ohio, all farmland. And like, Mom, why aren't we white? Why can't we be white? And they're like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. They're teaching in these rural schools too. Yeah. And that just poisoned the kids. I mean, I look at this neighborhood. You're Hispanic. Are you Hispanic?
Yeah.
Okay. You have kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're Hispanic. Dude, nice neighborhood, man. Mm-hmm. I can only... Look how, it's a nice neighborhood, nice house, and they're going to go to school and get taught this stuff. Like, we're oppressed and everything, and it's like... you come home, like, what are you teaching my kid? Like, we worked hard for this. This is a great home and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's been going on for centuries. Now, I want to say centuries.
For a long time.
Yeah, I'll say 40 years since the 70s or 80s or whatever. And it's just getting worse now. And now it went from the college level.
Yep.
And now it's down. You're teaching your preschool, like, this sexuality and, like, this is a gay guy. And you got these books where they're... And that's the other thing, too. That's another reason why they were burnt. They don't tell you the books the Nazis were burning. The books they were burning were pornography books and books we're seeing in our schools, right? They show little kids, oh, this is how a gay guy would have sex, or this is how you would give a guy a blowjob, or blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, they were burning books like that.
That's insane to me.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. Like, the similarities that are happening back then with the Nazis and right now is a lot of similarities of how the whole...
Yeah. Well, and you look at this right here. That's why I took that photo so I could get back to that same page. Because before that show, I was looking for that page. Page 8. So one of the things Lenin said to do. So Lenin, if you don't know Lenin, he led the Russian Revolution. From the first one from 1905 to 1917, then passed away in 1921 when Stalin took over. Mm-hmm. But when they were having the revolution against the Tsar monarchy in Russia, in order for him to defeat that government that pushed his communism, you had to have these tools to infect that government and the people living in that society and in that class. My bad, I got hiccups.
No, you're good.
So, and there were 8 steps. And he was saying that to do this, to be defeated, you need to depress them, demoralize them, split them, discord them, renegade, and push pornography to take place of the politics.
Wow.
So you see what's going on in America. So what's taking place and what's overthrowing our politics and our society and culture? You got pornography everywhere. You got OnlyFans now, where you got like 18-year-old girls, and everyone seems to be depressed.
Yep.
Depression's ramped in little kids, high school, suicide rates. People are demoralized. You go to these cities where people are just defecating in the city. They're just executing. You got homeless people just executing other people. Like you see in Seattle and Portland, or Discord, people splitting up. It's distracting from. So by doing that, you're distracting. All that's going on. So the government has to focus. Like, how do we fix this? Then the people in the communists they do what they got to do. You get these movements, these they call them like Black Bloc or whatever, like Lenin called them vanguards, and vanguards were his most highly educated leaders that would gather and recruit communist revolutions and anarchists to form together and occupy and take over different parts of the city, bridges, or government departments, and hold them. And pretty much they executed a lot of them too. They executed the king and his son after they took over in the last successful of the revolution in 1917.
Wow. Holy shit.
But yeah, you just look at our culture and you see what they're doing, what they're pushing. You got porn, there are LGBT, trans propaganda on TikTok, but everything's white supremacy. You're white if you're a colonizer, and they even call Mexicans and people that are heavy Americans here like, oh, you're too white, man. That's white supremacy. You colonize. It's like, dude, that's some. and that's the other thing why I say and that's another reason why I say it's so close to relating to Nazism. The Nazis wrote books like, oh, this is what a Jew is. You're a Jew if you do this, or you had this type of nose, or this, and you're going to be put in a concentration camp or gassed. That same rhetoric, how they're saying people are white if they do this, if you have this sort of family, if you're a colonizer, that's no different than what the Nazis were talking with Jews before leading up to the gas chamber. They're using full-on Nazi rhetoric when they're saying everyone's a white colonizer and a white supremacist.
Yeah.
They're even calling black people white supremacists if you have a MAGA hat or you support colonizing. Like that's so it's wild, dude. And this is what makes this movement in America so far dangerous because it's full-on communism, but they don't realize they actually are using a form of a Nazi fascistic power play in that movement. That's a super house.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, what I tell people in politics, they don't have to be one set definition. They intertwine. I don't believe in the left or right scale. I believe in a circle where it could go either way. Though it's say socialism and the communism on the bottom.
Okay.
It's a clock. It could just go and you can mix them in like that. Okay, let's do this socialism, but it's bringing this communism or this fascism.
Pretty much whatever works to be able to.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what's cool about government. But pretty much what it is it's tyranny.
Okay.
We've been facing tyranny probably since Reagan got out of office, with the wars and what they've been pushing in academics and the FBI and ATF raids of people that these guys were doing this. We didn't. 20 years later, it's like, you guys were totally wrong.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, 100%.
And then you look at the Patriot Act after 9/11, and they could just, we're going to read your text messages or your emails. We spied on you. We just want to know what was going on. You're all good. And it's like, you can't do that. You're violating my Fifth Amendment. That Patriot Act doesn't override the Fifth Amendment. I want to see a warrant,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They're against it. And that's what's crazy is that both sides, Republican and Democrat, agree with it. Like they both agree with, the Patriot Act and NSA getting into our own privacy lives. And that's another thing I talked about with Tucker Carlson, where it was like, if you don't have privacy, you essentially don't have freedom in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's one of the things communists do is abolish all forms of private property, and privacy is private property. You don't. And what's wild about that too, when they say abolish all private property and religion, especially with a dictator, they get. Let's say one day he just wakes up, no one can have a dog. You're not gonna have a dog. That's private property unless you share it with the community.
Wow. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's how it will go. It could go that far. But it takes you into tyranny though, and you see what's going on with like January 6th or even John Snowden or Julian Assange. That's tyranny too. I mean, this is, even though it may not seem like tyranny to people as we have more liberties in other countries, but when you're getting spied on or you're getting fined for something stupid that didn't even violate a constitutional right, it's like there's a problem there. Or these judges or these DAs, or it's even tyranny when they get rid of prosecutors because, you assumed his gender or you didn't identify him as a woman when he's actually a man. Like tyranny is tyranny. But what Plato gets in here is, how does tyranny happen? Well, what's interesting is, go to page 300 here on his democracy tyranny section. So the most extreme liberty you get, and I read it, and I was like, wow, that does make sense. The most extreme liberty you could ever have in a nation is when everyone is free. There's no slaves, and women and men are at the same level. That's like, I guess you could consider that extreme liberty. I mean, there's countries over there where, some countries have slaves, and you go to the Middle East, a lot of women don't have rights like voting. Yeah. Which, But what he pretty much says is, what happens is, once you get to that point, what do? People walk, he pretty much references, you walk by a person in the street and you bump into him, then you start freaking out on him. And then you overpower him because you're violating his liberty.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're causing these frictions, and it's
really you're causing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because everyone's free.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much saying too, it's like the reason why societies have slaves or women don't have the same amount of rights is because once you get to that extreme liberty, what are you going to do? It kind of keeps some sort of order in there, which I mean, I don't Yeah, I don't agree with slavery. You know, no one should. My family were Quakers. We ran underground railroads. But white people have been slaves. People in South America have been slaves. Everyone's been a slave
Every
at some
color
point.
or whatever. Yeah. At some point was slaves. And that's what's crazy back, like, to relate to Jesus, to where, like, this all can, it's crazy how much you can relate to the Bible, the devil, God, right?
Yeah.
Like, with some things work for reasons. Like, God says men lead, women don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, with that being said, and like some little, the things like with, I'm not saying slavery, with women not having rights. I'm not saying women shouldn't have rights. What I'm saying is that a man needs a lead, right? So like some countries and in some eras ran better than now because of certain stipulations that were in place.
Yeah.
That kind of relates to what the Bible is.
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia is their economy's thriving. Those people have money. I mean,
Yeah.
every country's gonna have poor people, but a lot of
There's money.
their poor people probably live better than the poor people here in America. And then sometimes they don't allow it over there. It's like you're gonna get a job or you're gonna get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is let's go back to slavery then. You know what the Bible says? Now, God doesn't want people. It doesn't. What the Bible says about slavery is, and what makes the human error of slavery wrong in so many instances is because we're sinners. And what happens is, you know, Jesus says, "Masters, treat your slaves how I treated you and love you." Mm-hmm. The thing is, people throughout history didn't do that. So if we had people that owned slaves, let's say you were my slave, mm-hmm. but I treated you like you were a Christian too, but I loved you like Jesus did, and I didn't treat you wrong. But you were my slave. You know, it's say you stayed in the house. Kids got to school, dinner on the table, but you got to eat. Mm-hmm. You got clothes on your head. You're taken care of. But I loved you like Jesus did. Mm-hmm. Okay.
No different than like a business.
But then what happens is you get the human sin of it. The error is like, I'm your master, bow down to me. It's yes or no, sir. You're going to sleep over here like a dog. Mm-hmm. Then you have that slavery. Yeah. And Jesus didn't say that. Mm-hmm. It's the same with the women. It's like, you know, men, love your wives how I loved you.
Exactly. And
that's what he wants you to do. It's me, I have no problem if women didn't have the right to vote. But other stuff, you know, I don't care that they drive and go to work. Women have been working for centuries. They take care of kids. They do extra stuff. You know, whatever. If you want to have a job, yeah, cool. But my thing is with voting is, if you look at the record of voting, a lot of this transgender LGBT stuff, everything being put, a lot of women think emotionally. Now, I'm saying everyone, but majority of them do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of if women weren't voting, a lot of this LGBT transgender stuff probably would have been prevented.
Yeah, probably.
Because a lot of women vote very liberal. Not saying not every woman. Mm-hmm. But that's a different topic another day. I mean, it is what it is, but it's not like, okay, you can't vote, but I'm not treating you any different way. I'm still going to respect you because you're a woman.
100%. Well, like...
Another thing is, too, is people don't realize the first woman in Congress was from Montana, and just because you couldn't vote didn't mean you couldn't be in office. Women could still be in office. You just wouldn't vote. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, well, you don't vote. I mean, you can still run for office and still be a politician, so
yeah, there's no.
But it is what it is. That's a hot topic for some people.
My thing is that I feel like men. This all relates back to men. Even if women can vote, I think men need to be strong enough to be able to lead.
Yep.
And lead correctly with Jesus.
Yep.
Right. So like, if women they have the right to do all of what men can do, men just need to know how to direct their significant other. A lot of times we don't. And there's a lot of times where the devil with social media will take place, where they'll control the mind of your loved one, your wife, instead of you.
Yep.
And so I think that's where in America, right, in the Western hemisphere, that's where like the huge problem is. And like with Andrew Tate, like I like a lot of things he says.
Oh yeah,
a lot of things. The only thing I don't agree with, but I think he's not a full on Christian. I think he's more of the Muslim, like he
took on the Muslim faith. But I think before that, I think his dad was a Christian.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that too. So I hope he goes back to the Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Because the thing with him, the only thing I kind of disagree with is the cheating part. But I understand where he's coming from on what he's talking about, like a high value man. Like he is, beyond rich.
Yeah.
He does all these different things. He goes on and does his thing. And he also says, like, if you're not at that level, don't try to become like me, where you think you can go cheat and whatnot. But I think he shouldn't. Like, if he finds a woman, he shouldn't be cheating.
Yeah,
That's
no. And another thing, I think, even like a true Muslim, they're loyal too. Like that's just part of it. So that's just him. That's his personal stuff. He needs to work out.
He needs to work out. Yeah, exactly.
But there was a lot of good stuff where like he's like, yeah, he's not wrong. And I do agree. They're attacking men. I think part of the get back in the gym, eat healthy, or getting to church and just leading by example and just not doing what the devil wants you to do, but what Jesus wants you to do,
Exactly, yeah, what God wants you to do. And that's what I really love from him. He's always pointing to God. I mean, he's honestly pointing to Jesus, which is, I hope he finds and able to realize what's real out here. But just the fact to even just point to God is still better than what's happening now, where you're literally saying there's no God and no devil. And the greatest trick that the devil could do is be able to forget about the devil, because then you end up forgetting about God as well.
Yeah.
In a lot of senses. So him being able to push back on the media, this agenda that the devil has, because like everyone likes to say like the elites or there's like this particular group. I think it just all relates back to the devil, because if you look at what's going on, it's all from what sin is, what the Antichrist is wanting, LGBTQ or however whatever it is.
Yeah.
The pornography, they just like every little stipulation of sin is coming into our culture and taking over, even when it comes to governmental stuff to the people walking around the streets.
Yep.
So that I think that's where if we were all to find Jesus, or a lot of get Jesus back into the majority of groups, it would be a totally different situation from what's going on right now. Like, why don't we have the Bible in the public schools? Like, why can't we have a Bible in the public school? We have all these different types of books.
We did for hundreds of years.
And now we don't. I don't even see one.
What I tell people too, the First Amendment says freedom of religion. I'm going to be straight up with you. That freedom of religion wasn't for other religions. The people that came here from England and Western Europe were all Protestants, Christians, and people that believed in a higher power of God, but off a Christian aspect. Even they'd be formed deist. A lot of the founding fathers were deists, but they read the Christian Bible, or that was how they still went to church. Yeah. So their attention was, because they didn't want Muslims here, and not saying there's a lot of great patriotic Muslims that love them. I'm not knocking on them. It's not. But what I'm getting at is, that First Amendment was for Christians, because Christians in England and that they were being chased out by Catholics, and the King of England with the churches over, like, no, you need to form to the Church of England or the Catholic Church in other parts of the country. It's like, no, we're not doing that. That's why the Pilgrims came here. It's like, we want to be left alone. The Puritans. We want to worship God and not be betrayed by the church, where we got to pay away our sins and do this for the church and not be forgiven. It's like, no, it doesn't work. We know what Jesus says in the gospel. So that First Amendment, it wasn't for all these religions to come here. It was for Christians, because they knew what happens when you start doing that. It starts causing division and different views, and these people don't like over here. It's like, well, we're this faith of Muslims or Jews or Hindus or atheists. We like this, and we don't. And it's funny. All these other religions that came here, what's getting smaller? Christians. They keep attacking Christians. Churches, and get the Bibles out of school. Yep. It's beyond crazy. And that's the actual true. It wasn't to this day. I would still I'm not saying create a national church in America, but people have to understand the First Amendment was only for Christians. It really was. Yeah. That's what it was. So you don't persecute Christians and shut down our churches and come after us and have that's. And the other thing is the separation of church and state. There is no Supreme Court ruling or any bill that says there's a separation of church and state. What they think separation of church and state is like, oh, look at this Christian church. They're trying to push these views on us and change our laws and everything. The separation of church and state is when a church becomes government. The church isn't going to become government here.
Yeah.
But what our founding fathers wanted, they wanted Christian and principled godly people to run and operate government departments and other places in our society to have a functional society. Even though it would still be not perfect, but these people would have some sorts of morality or be justified or be held accountable for their actions. So in order to have a country under God, you need to bring that aspect back.
Yeah.
A church doesn't become the government. You just elect people that are Christians or whatever, and it's like, we're going to do it this way and run it this way and whatnot.
100%. I think we need to. That's true. And with the A's point of view, Kanye West, he was saying, like, we need a lot of our leaders in a lot of these companies to be Christian led. Like, we need to start pushing the Christians companies, pushing the Christian politicians, you know. And that's why he loved Trump so much, is because he would always put God first. You know, he would give the glory to God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the fact that we can't give glory to Jesus, and a lot of these companies are either atheists or...
Here's something for you to think about. Trump talks about God, but he doesn't talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
And I that's going to be between him, and if that day happens, hopefully it does come to that. But he does talk about God, so I would probably consider Trump more of a deist, like a lot of our founding fathers. But he still talks about God, and he reads the Bible, so he forms a deist, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, yeah. So like with the Kanye West, what I was saying is like I like how he was stating, like, we have all, it's not to be anti-Semitic, but we have a lot of Jewish company-led people here. We have a lot of Jewish people that are in contact with the most of everything, like all of Hollywood. A lot of our lawyers are coming from there. So like a lot of our governmental officials come from that connection as well. But we don't have a lot of Christians that are out there. And sometimes, and even then, I think a lot of Christian churches now are starting to get manipulated as well. And that's hard to see. Like, you're raising these kids to where they're confused about religion, they're confused about Christianity, and then they're just confused in general of, is God even real? So like now you have these atheist kids, which a lot of these kids are. Like I grew up atheist, and then I found God on my own. It wasn't my father, it wasn't my mother. I had to figure it out on my own. So being able to be Christian now, I look and I take a step back and look, I'm like, holy crap, all of my friends were atheists. So even the ones that were raised in churches end up being atheists just because they were following the crowd in these public schools.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, holy crap, we're over here. We have Amazon over here. You don't see them ever quoting or anything about Jesus, which I think every business should be. I mean, in my opinion, I guess, I think every business should have some Christian values into it, or as in just to be able to preach some type of godly thing, because if not, we're going to go into the atheist part, and that's where we are right now. A lot of these kids, and that's I really like to push on the kids because that is the future. I mean, look at what's happening now. Most of them are atheists, but they won't talk about that.
Yeah.
They won't talk about that. You know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you could go to churches in downtown Phoenix where they got pastors that are gay or pro-LGBT, and here's the thing about that. I want gays to come to church. I don't want them discriminated. I'm a sinner. My sins are no better than yours.
Exactly.
But our job is to save you and to repent. But you have these pastors that are blaspheming the scripture and the gospel, that they're lying about, and it's contradictory to what Jesus wanted, and they're letting him live in this sin. And I don't want to live in a sin of sexual immorality. You know, I want to be able to fight that and repent and find hope in Jesus.
Exactly.
Well, you know, then you have these pastors that are promoting this racial stuff. When we're talking about, it's like, dude, this is going way against the gospel.
Exactly, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
They're putting their own views into the Bible. They're like kind of reconstructing the Bible in a way where they're pushing their own agendas instead of actually going from what's right and wrong. I mean, there's no problem. There's no problem with. There is a problem with sin, but there isn't a problem with acknowledging the problem of a sin. Like, people are like, yeah, it's a sin, but and they try to put manipulations into it, as in, like, hey, you know, I'm like with the pastors being gay, and it's like, oh, Jesus still accepts me. Yes, he accepts everyone, but in the fact that, you know, you're repenting to him, you're loving to him, you're worshiping him. So like like you said, my sins are no better than what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
Well,
judge.
Paul warns us in Romans 16 verses 17. Right. I urge you, brothers and sisters, to watch out for those who cause division and put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teaching you have learned. Keep away from them, for such people are not serving our Lord Christ, but their own appetites. By smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the minds of the naive people. And you look at these pastors in some of these areas that are atheists or anti-God or trained, that's what they're doing. They're smooth talking them in, they're flattery. They play these big bands at churches and they're focusing on this and promoting their music and then not focusing on the message of repenting. It's like, you're saved, but are you repenting? Are you trying to defeat your sin that you're still? Everyone has that one major sin they struggle with.
Yeah.
Everyone does. So then he goes on. Everyone has heard about your obedience, so I rejoice because of you, but I want you to be wise about what is good and innocent about what is evil. The God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. I think that's out of the entire gospel, besides one of my favorite quotes out of Revelations. That one's probably my favorite passage out of the whole, because it's just warning you. People will deceive you and smooth talking you. I mean, you look at these politicians or you look at these corporations and what they're doing in these churches. And I hopefully, when we finish it off here, I'm trying to bring back, because we're talking about Dietists and Trump, and I froze up right there. And it was, man.
Right there, tip of your tongue.
Yeah, it was I had it too. I was thinking so fast and I just lost it. Yeah, that moment where I froze up, I wish now it's just bothering me, because I'll be in that car and I'll be driving back home and it's going to hit me and I'm going to text you. It's like, this is what I meant to say, but it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%, man. No, this conversation today has been beautiful, man. I mean, God has his reasons for everything, and Jesus has his ways. And honestly, I hope the viewerships here can gain some knowledge from just hearing you out. I know I have a lot from you, like every question I have, I go to him. Like literally, like almost every question when I come to politics, in general, honestly, I come to him for this, because he's so knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about. He reads a lot. He researches, and he knows how to dissect it and really.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing you have to do. Just I've read this book, Addicted to Outrage by Glenn Beck. Read the article, read the research paper, read the book. Don't get outraged. Don't get upset about it first. Just read it. Mm-hmm. If it makes you question something in your life or your worldview, it's like, see if it's right. See if it's wrong. See if you dislike it. See if you disagree. If there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. You know, we just have to come to that conclusion, you know, and I'm always just asking questions, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, a liberal, a communist, a fascist, an evil person. Well, I mean, I would want you to be good, but just don't infringe on my liberty, you know. It's just be humans, be civil.
100%.
Always something to learn, you know. I'm learning every day of just church, Bible study, the books I read, and this is not even the book. I've already read these books. I just brought them because it was going to bring into the conversation, but we're probably going to talk about, you know. Everyone can learn. I think we should be learning something new every day.
100%. And we shouldn't be judged on that, like being able to learn. Changing
your brakes, how to change a tire, go on YouTube, learn some. Mm-hmm. Just learn something, man.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know how to divide, go on YouTube and watch how to do long division. I don't know.
Something, yeah. You always have to keep that mind busy. Make sure it's always working like a muscle. You know, and yeah, man, I mean, I do appreciate you coming on and doing this for me. But we'll have another, we'll have a second episode on this too. But this man loves, I mean, you probably wouldn't guess, but he loves hip hop. He's a big sports guy. I mean, if you go on his Twitter, you would know. Oh, yeah. But if you don't, I mean, this guy, it's not like, and people judge from the book of his cover, because they're going to look at your hat and they're going to be like, oh, he's this, bigot, you know how they go about. But no, man, he's in the American culture right now. He knows what's going on, and he also loves it, like hip hop. We have that relation.
I've met Wiz Khalifa, Jack Harlow, Big Crit, Conway the Machine. I love hip. I grew up with it, man. I just love the music. And I was 7 years old when I first heard about and finding out who like Eminem was, and it was like, man, you know, just white boy dude, you know, like, sagging her pants in first grade. He's a Slim Shady.
Slim Shady, the real Slim Shady.
Please, oh yeah, but no, you know, 50 Cent, those guys. I just love that music, man. Just my thing. In sports, huge. When it comes to professional sports, all Denver Broncos, Nuggets, Rocky. Well, I'm wearing a Cardinals Sure. My dad was a huge Mark McGwire fan growing up. So I'm actually, for baseball, I'm a big St. Louis fan, but I do like the Rockies. But mainly I'm a football, basketball guy.
Yeah, me too.
So Michigan Wolverines,
Okay.
that's the team. Then Broncos and Nuggets,
How'd you go from, because where are you from actually originally?
Montana.
Montana. So how does it go Denver and what'd you say? Michigan.
Well, I mean, I didn't have any college teams at that time, but when I moved to Ohio when I was 7 or 8, it was either Ohio State or Michigan. I just liked Michigan.
Oh, gotcha.
And I
Okay,
just
okay.
like Michigan, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Big rivalry over there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm big into outdoorsy stuff. Yeah, I'm going fly fishing Monday. I fly fish a lot, wild trout. I hike. I go up in the mountains. I just do my thing, man.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Denver, I mean, they're going to, what do you think is going to happen there? I mean, they have a new coach.
I thought Hackett was going to seal the deal, but obviously after we got the players, because our defense was actually top 3 in the league.
Yeah, really good.
We averaged 16 points a game with our defense. If we would have scored 9 games, if we only had, we went, 5-11?
Mm-hmm.
Or 5-12? Yeah, because we have 18 games.
18 games, yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever. 5-12. If we would have won 9 of those games scoring over 18 points, we would have been in the playoffs. All we had to do was score 18 points.
But, like, what was the offense? I mean, you guys had...
I think Russell Wilson wasn't being... I think the coaches had him restricted. They weren't letting him doing bootlegs, roll out, roll left, scrambling, creating plays. They had him restricted. They just wanted to just keep him in the pocket. And there's nothing wrong if you have a Tom Brady or a Ben Roethlisberger, but Russell Wilson doesn't work that way. We need play action. We need bootlegs. He needs to be scrambling, boom, pass.
Yep.
So, and I think Sean Payne's going to bring back the discipline, the team morality. He already has the record in the Saints. We have all the players. Russell Wilson's going to be ready to go. It's playoffs or bust.
Yeah.
Just give me to the playoffs. Then we built, and I 100% believe Russell Wilson's going to get us the championship.
I think so too.
I mean, Peyton Manning did. He took us to 2, got 1 of them.
That's true.
So I'm all about it.
Yeah, I think Russell it's a good fit with, especially with Sean Payton. When I saw that Sean Payton was going, I'm like, God damn, because I'm a Cardinals fan, so I wanted him to come. I wanted him to come so bad, but I knew that with the problem in the locker room right now with Kyler Murray and all that stuff, it's like I don't think Sean wants all that. So
he saw Denver had all the weapons. He's like, we could get a championship there.
100%. He's like,
yeah,
he's ready for that.
Yeah.
So I know this season's going to be fun to see, and then especially the draft when it comes up. Because did you guys pick up a first round pick from?
No, we traded. I don't know if we
from Miami or no.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
Unless we did another trade.
Because I know that Bradley Chubb trade got you some picks back, but I just don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot we traded. Yeah,
that was a big trade. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I was sad when Von Miller left, but Von Miller's a Bronco for life.
I know.
He'll be a Hall of Famer as a Bronco.
Hell yeah.
Super Bowl 50 MVP, baby.
I know. That was like the first time in a long time that a defensive player was an MVP.
He was a monster that year. The monster, man, if it be. I'm happy. I'm happy where he's at. He got a Super Bowl with the Rams, and I think he might get one with the Bills.
Yeah.
It's just the Bills got to get more consistent towards the end of the season. They always, something happens at the end of the season in the playoffs.
Falls apart every time. But yeah, my Cardinals are in such a rebuild year, so it's like, I'm going to be watching other teams. like I know, I'm going to watch my team, of course, but I know I'm going to have to wait a little bit before we see another playoff run come out.
One of my favorite Super Bowls is when they played the Steelers in 2009. That was a wild Super Bowl.
Wow, that was crazy. That was actually the first year I actually got into football. I was like...
Yeah, I was in 6th grade.
Oh, really? I was... Dang, how old was I? I think I was like... It was 2008, right? Or
2009, 8, yeah. I was...
Something like that. I was like 8 years old.
How old are you?
I'm 23, so 2000.
Oh, okay, I'm 4 years older. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 27. Okay, that's why. Okay.
Yeah,
dude. 23 years old, dude, and you're doing great. The things you have around here, keep doing them. That's the American dream.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm trying to do, man.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have tons of people.
Just keep God close and keep doing that, and you keep getting blessed, man. That's all you do.
100%. That's exactly what I'm doing. I try to push Jesus throughout this whole... Anything I do, I try to push Jesus, and I hope that this platform can get bigger and bigger and bigger so then people can realize, like, hey, Jesus is here, he's with you, and you need to believe in him. Because every time I walk into a room, I talk about him, and like they say, like, you walk with, dang, how do they say? I'm forgetting right now. You walk blessed. People walk blessed with you, or is it like what is it?
I haven't heard of that one, but I
think it's something else. I can't remember what it is, but it's just the point of, like, every time I walk in a room and I talk about him, God does his work, Jesus does his work, and they start slowly believing. Like you can ask anyone around me. They start dipping into, they start praying. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
They start praying. I don't know about the Bible. That's on their own personal level. But if people can just help other people just learn how to pray, just to be able to go and say, hey, Lord, I need this, then it can lead to the next step, hopefully.
Yep.
Which is repenting and then reading the Bible, because right now reading is just so hard for anyone right now, I guess. So if we can just take that one step, and hopefully we get a step closer and a step closer to understand, and then we can get back on track to what America's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to push with this as well. I know people are like very like itchy upon like, oh, like every time you talk about Jesus, they like get a cringe in their fucking, you know what I mean? They just start messing around.
It's interesting how they get cringed about that too. Is like, I don't get cringed when they have some other faith talking or listen to their ideas. Like I listen to it, it's like, yeah, I disagree with it, but not going to turn it off.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I think this is a wrap right here, man.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate you coming all the way out here. It's like an hour drive, but it was a beautiful topic, and we're definitely gonna have an episode 2.
Oh yeah, man.
For sure.
Appreciate you having me on, man. It's gonna you have great things going on right here, and then it's gonna grow, man. Just take, to finish it off right here. Jesus was patient and humbled. He was patient all the way up until his crucifixion. He just wants to be patient. We got to learn to be patient because he was patient for you when he died on the cross for our sins.
100%.
But I appreciate it. If you guys, any of you want to follow me, just Instagram, Telegram. My Twitter is my main one, just the JFK Report. And I appreciate it. Thank you guys, man. Thank you.
We'll have all of his social media and stuff like that in the link on the description below. So definitely check.